Welcome everyone. Today I'm going to be using Lords and Ladies Gamer Grass. So these are neat little laser plants apparently. So full colour laser cut plants. So pick a plant, peel it from the sprue, mould it, bend it, play with its form. Apparently you can add it to dioramas and it looks pretty good. Well, it looks good on the box. So I thought I would try it, and yeah, you tell me what you guys think. I'll tell you what I think. So it looks interesting. I've been meaning for a while to get back on with my Star Wars Legion and finish painting them up. Hadn't got many to go, but my theme is an Endor theme, so I thought this would be ideal. So a few of the local guys have different themes on their bases. So Tabletop Dan, who's been on the channel multiple times, he has got a Scarif themed base, which looks wicked, and just looking at them makes me want to watch Rogue One. Marcus also is working out some themes of what he could do with his bases, but I know Marcus likes to make his stormtroopers look a little bit dirty as well. I don't mean that in a kinky way, I just mean a little bit more weathered. And that looks way more realistic. So for example, his speeder bikes looks very much like the ones from the first series of The Mandalorian. So we all have our own different styles, our own different takes, but the whole reason I wanted to play Empire is basically Endor speeder bikes. That was it. That was until Wookiees and stuff like that came out, and then I was like, man, maybe I should go Rebels and do Hoth. But no, for once I stuck to my guns. I didn't deviate. Although one day I might pick them up. Anyway, in this video, enough waffle. I'm just going to get straight on with my basing. So, I have my ATST, which I've been meaning to paint for quite some time. I've weathered it up a little bit, which you'll see when I pan back and take some shots at the end. And I live on the moors like a wild man. And on my many walks, I found a nice dried piece of wood. Obviously pocketed it because that's what hobbyists do, and I thought that would be about right for an Endor board. It is a bit wobbly, so I will get my hobby saw and saw it flat, so it's not quite so proud. It is maybe slightly too big regards the feet, but I'll give it a little bit of trimmage and see if I can stick it to the base. It does look a little bit on the large side though, so I will get some side cutters, some snips, start shaping it a little bit, and I'll definitely cut it so it's not quite so wobbly. Okay, so I've flattened it off a little bit at the bottom. I've stuck it on here, that kind of angle, so I don't want to block where the stick will go, movement stick, and I did break this off a little bit, so it makes it look a little bit more like a broken branch, as this guy has stood over it. I could have had him standing on, could have had the walker standing on the trunk, but I thought it might look a bit corny, plus the weight of it, I'm not entirely sure if it wouldn't just break it. Right, so my main texture on this build is going to be thick mud acrylic from Vallejo. So I went for the European mud, which is a very rich colour, so I'm just removing the lid now, and the protected film, which is always worth keeping because it does stop the pot from drying out. So that is, it looks like a nightmare basically. It looks horrible. So I'm going to put this over the base quite liberally, but before I do so, you will notice on Legion that there is lines marking the angles of attack. So what I like to do is either mark with white when I finally paint the rim of the base. I nearly said rim the base, that's something else entirely different. That's a different video for a different clientele. But I will score it instead, so it would match that. Make life a bit easier. Also, if I did ever want to fill it in with white afterwards, you know, it's easier to find. So once I've done that, you can see that it is slightly more obvious there. The mark, same on the back. So you want to get an old knackered brush, really. Still something kind of small so you can get around all the little nooks and crannies and things like that. But I have a brush here that is definitely not a good brush. Nice and cheap brush I had for a very long time for such a thing. And I'm literally just going to put this on as thick as I dare. And just leave it to dry fully. This stuff does look horrible. Need a bit more roughage in my diet, but yeah, this is basically what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it on really thick, and this is just going to be the base for sticking my ferns and tufts and whatnot to. So I will finish this off. You don't need to see me do this for the next 20 minutes. So once the thick mud goes off, this is brilliant stuff, by the way. I mean, I think it was 10-ish pounds. It was that kind of ballpark figure for a lot. What does it say? Yeah, 200 milliliters is loads. It's incredible value. I mean, I bought a tub of Vallejo's concrete back along. I did about 3,000 points of World Eaters during lockdown. So yeah, you can get a lot in one tub. But it does look a lot firmer. I'll put the light on here. Looks a little bit less shiny as well when it finally goes off. And that is nice and rock hard. It's a very good base. It still looks mud-like, even when it dries and it loses a little bit of its sheen. It looks a little bit less like a newborn baby's nappy, I guess. So I do apologise for those with young kids. You might be suffering from post-traumatic stress by using this stuff, but it doesn't smell. That's always a bonus. And it covers really well, and you can sculpt it somewhat because it is incredibly thick. So next thing is I will start adding just some generic tufts. Everybody's seen tufts before. And then I'll start messing around with those laser printed plants. So these laser cut things obviously are a tad fiddly, so you might need some tweezers. But being laser cut, it's mostly pressed out already. So just be very careful with the tweezers. That's not blood on the tweezers, by the way. That's blood for the blood god. Because I like to sponge it on. Just thought I would tell you. You think I haven't stabbed myself with a pair of tweezers. I mean, I am a child, but, you know, I'm not that bad. So you just gently peel these things off, or just roll them off like so. They are fairly rigid, despite how thick they actually are. Let me just wiggle that out there, or get it caught even further. That's amazing. There we go. Just like so. So yes, they are quite rigid, despite how thin they are. It's quite good. What I recommend is I'm using the back of my knife on the center of the leaf, so it shouldn't be able to cut, and then just fold around the blade itself. So just like that. And I'm going to fold one side of the leaf and then the other. Easier said than done on camera, I know. See if I can get it actually in the picture, be helpful, right? That would be amazing. So fold one side of the leaf and the other around the blade. Like I said, it is easy off camera, I swear. Maybe if I lean it down. But you get the idea. I've already stuck one on the base already. So folding the leaf up just like that. And that's what I've done so far. The only downside I can see to this stuff is it does look fantastic, but unfortunately you will always get a little bit of white on the edge of the leaves, because obviously it comes from card. They can't paint the sides, considering, you know, they've cut it out of card, or foil in this case. But it looks pretty good, I feel. So I'm going to carry on folding the stuff on camera if I can. If I can even see the camera as I'm doing this. So I'm just using the back just to curve the flowers like so. Oh, maybe that's a bit too much. Like I said, these are very thin foil, just like so. And then obviously you can fold it in any manner you want to make it a bit more lifelike. But I find folding it on the center, on the crossover initially, like so, stick it to the base, obviously using a pair of tweezers, and then a little tiny drop of super glue, and then actually fold the plant around. So it shouldn't be too hard, he says. So tiny spot of super glue just on the crossover on the what I'm calling the base, and then I'm going to use the tweezers, and I'm going to stick it somewhere like so. So it looks like it's growing out from underneath the stump. If it takes, there we go. And then obviously fold it in a way you want to. So I'm going to fold it back on itself just a little bit. This stuff will take some punishment, so don't be afraid to really give it some beans. So, like that, that's not too bad, is it? I'll shape it a little bit more possibly. A pair of tweezers. There we go, that's pretty cool. Just like that. I'll bend the previous one as well. Like I said, it will stick some punishment though, it really will. That looks pretty cool. Don't think that looks too bad at all. I don't know if you can see that on camera. It looks pretty good. So I'm going to put a few more of these down. I'm going to paint the edge of the base and tidy up a little bit. But yeah, I often use stuff that looks like fungus, and I also have fake leaves to stick to the base of these kind of miniatures, especially when I do indoor stuff. But that I'm pretty happy with. Obviously I have to put a lot more down to make it look massively overgrown. But yeah, very cool I think. Okay, so that's the finished piece. So I zoom in a little bit and take you down. That's not bad, I'm pretty happy with that. It looks fairly organic, and I did touch in the edges of the leaves as well so they don't show up too much of the white. But yeah, pretty impressed. It's a really good product. Doesn't take much to mess around with. I've tried to create ferns in the past myself, and it doesn't look right, and it's so time consuming. So for something that's so cheap, I think it's a really, really good product. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was a bit of a short one, but I was really happy with it. And I got to paint a miniature, well, so-called miniature, it's flipping huge. I haven't painted and had for a very long time. So I'm pretty chuffed with it. So stay safe, you lovely, lovely people. And hopefully we'll see some Star Wars Legion on a battle report on this channel soon. That'd be pretty cool. Right. Catch you in the next video.